there. Good morning. It's the beginning of a new week, a Monday for that matter. Welcome to the newspaper review segment of the morning show, live here on Pan African Television, your favorite television channel. We are most grateful to you for joining us, and we thank you all across the 16 regions in Ghana, across all the countries in Africa. And talking about African countries, we are live across some 46 other African countries via satellite. We are live across the world at www.facebook.com/Pan-African Television. My name is Bless Headman Aloma. So I'll be very much grateful if you'd send in your contributions on our Facebook page. I'll be more than glad to read all of them for you. Today we'll talk about the Russia-Ukraine situation. We have some Ghanaian students who are begging to be evacuated. We understand that some of them, luckily, they have been, evacuated. We also talk about the fact that the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Kingsford Bagbin, and his first deputy, they have been at war. The Speaker expressed his dissatisfaction about the fact that his deputy overturned the ruling. His deputy has responded. We'll talk about that particular matter as well. And then, of course, the Deputy Majority Leader in Parliament, Afenyo Makin, he has also been on the toes of some media houses for allegedly making false publications. You understand? So these are the topics that we'll be discussing today on the morning show. My name once again, Bless Headman Aloma, so sitting in for Kwame Usudan. So I've been joined in the studios by Awudu Ishak. He is the National Communications Director for the PNC. Alhaji Mohammed Naziru is part or a member of the NDC Communications team, Zongo Caucus. And of course, our usual Monday guest, Ejanto, is here with us. Good morning, sirs, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Bless.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me. Right, without further ado, let's get into the Russian situation. And we know the politics surrounding this particular issue. NATO in there, the likes of America in there, the likes of, the superpowers basically, and some particular interest that they have in there. But let us narrow it down to the fact that we have our own people, Ghanaians there, who should be evacuated, looking at the situation if something is not done about it. If something is not done about it, we fear the worst could actually happen. So let's discuss Russia. Let's discuss Ghanaians living in Russia, especially students. I've seen a footballer. He came out to say that he has food for only 2 days. He has food for only 2 days, and if that food finishes, it means there will be nothing left for him to eat. So it's a matter of urgency that our people should, as a matter of fact, should be evacuated. Let me start with the National Communications Director for the PNC, Comrade Awudu Ishak.
Well, Bless, it's been a while, and let me just say, Pan African TV, we have all been hit by this particular decision by Russia to launch an attack or an invasion, for that matter, on Ukraine. Indeed, if I am not loop for Russia to rescind that particular decision and stop the invasion, Russia appears not to be budging. And if you look at it from a broader perspective, you would understand, or you would see the fact that Russia is a world superpower and an economic power, for that matter. Russia provides a greater chunk of our petroleum and gas needs globally. Russia, the important role that this particular staple offers in terms of the production of confectionery and all of that. And Bless, we are also aware that if you look at in countries which they do not hail from, you just made reference to a footballer of Ghanaian origin who came out and expressed some fears about a possible starvation, because he only has food that can last him for 2 days. And a lot of activities definitely will come to a standstill. As much as Russia wants people to believe that they are interested in protecting their interests, and that for a very long time they have made NATO and its member states to know that there's a certain red line, you ought to understand that the interests of other people must also be of consideration. And I would have wished that Russia had not taken this particular action that they have taken, because we all say all the time that even in kind of dialogue, people who think that Russia should immediately withdraw. Because if you look at the responses from the other members of NATO, especially from the United States, where I have heard the United position that reflects that of the entirety of the membership of NATO. And if we were to have a situation whereby the entire NATO as a body would join this particular fight or defense of, and we have prayed all along never to have a situation of a third world war or anything closer to that. But if we are to be candid enough, we get to understand that if we are not able as a global polity to manage this particular, having to assign reasons for which Russia should do what they are doing, I believe that as much as possible we can always resort to a lot of dialoguing, we can always resort to mediations, we can always resort to ensuring that we are able to sit around the table and address giving directives as to how Ghanaian nationals in Ukraine could contact some authorities or some persons for assistance to ensure their safety and possible evacuation back home. These are people who are engaged in all manner of activities in Ukraine. Some of them are footballers, and it's not easy to have all of that disrupted. And this is just not peculiar to Ghana. There are so many other people from every other country who could we find in Ukraine. And as much as possible, as I keep saying, I think that Ukraine should be Russia should be able to in this particular war. We have seen the kinds of things that have happened in the past, and I have heard or seen people talk about the hypocrisy of some other NATO members who played a part in some or similar actions of invasion. Consequences does not mean that we should sit back and allow some other persons to also engage in that same wrong. As much as possible, we should be able to learn from history and ensure that we right the wrongs from the past. And I think that Russia should be able to listen. The people should be able to calm tempers and engage in a manner.
What is the Russian interest in this particular war?
Well, you know that in terms of the geopolitics of it, you know that these superpowers, Russia undoubtedly is a superpower. And you know the proximity between Russia and Ukraine. And Russia has always headed by the obvious rival superpowers of Russia to be able to engage in whatever strategies they want to engage in and possibly get to have a certain upper hand as far as engagements with Russia is concerned. And you never know what would happen. Basically, that is why Russia is afraid of having Ukraine being a member of NATO.
Alaji Nas. Oh, okay, so 3 Fadamanians. And good morning to our viewers out there. For me, I think that my brother Audu has dealt much into the issue of Russia and Ukraine. Like he said, Russia has an interest. Man, Kofi Annan, when it comes to issues of this nature, he has what it takes to mediate. And I think that at this point in time, we need people who can sit down with, the Russian president, Ukraine, And then the NATO force, he's going to meet with parents whose wards are in Ukraine. That's students whose, whose parents are in Ghana. They want to have a meeting with them. And he went on to further say that, in fact, they are prepared to pay for those who don't have money to be able to, have what it takes to bring down the students. And it's not only the students. All along, the communique that is going around seems to suggest that we are talking about students, bringing down students. But there are footballers. There are other people who have gone there to hustle. So they are all Ghanaians. So for me, I think that, pinpoint a particular number of people, but then they say citizens of this country move to this particular joint and let's take you to your destination. So for me, I think that the Minister of Foreign Affairs will have to stress on that point and let Ghanaians know that it is not only about, because it looks like the kind of interest other countries are having. From where I'm sitting, if care is not taken, it is not going to end now. All that we need to do is to make sure that we do where we have once seen it before, because it looks like Putin is bent on making sure that he gets what he wants. And as it stands now, I have also read that he's willing to meet with, when it matters to world superpower, you know what I mean, they have to intervene and say, look, we've gotten to a level, we don't need wars these days. If we've gotten to a level, we have developed, we have gone past these stages of war and what have you. All we need to do is to jojo and then, have started coming out with issues because of this Russia-Ukraine war. Things are going to be tougher. Already, we are not having things easy. So for me, if people begin talking about this war, we should say, hey, we should be very careful. They should stress on that because it is very important. We don't have only students in Ukraine. We have other people in Ukraine. You understand? And so to meet with parents of students in Ukraine, hey, I don't know whether you've seen the circular going around. And I was like, hey, what I bring the Ghanaian citizens in Ukraine, all you need to do, bring them and let them meet with their parents. Well, I don't know the kind of meeting they are going to have, but I have the strong belief that maybe their children are coming to Ghana. So as soon as they meet, they said, identify your children. Yes, I think let me just end here. And I pray that there's going to be a ceasefire. Yeah, so that at least the peace we've been enjoying over the years will still continue, because we don't need any world war. Yeah.
Right. When we come to Alhaji Naziru.
I would say once again that I have seen some sort of laxity on the part of government and government officials, especially the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I say so because this whole Russian-Ukraine war did not start overnight, which he didn't. And I mean, he gave it another 1 week to meet the obligation of the international intelligence. I was expecting that in this scenario, the meeting that is now being held with parents should have been held already. When we saw the tanks, I mean, Russia moving artillery and tanks, you understand. So when he was doing all this, I was expecting that the Ghanaian students, some communique will be issued to them. I think the concentration on the student should be getting clear in the sense that we took them there. They didn't go there willingly. We took them there to study and then come back with the knowledge might have taken them to Ukraine. But I say it is important. Ghanaian is a Ghanaian, be it student, footballer, or whatever it is. So I was expecting that by now, even in the, Eastern European area, we should have had a coordinating center for the people as well. I mean, so we need to look at it holistically as an Eastern European issue.
and the fact that we have many Ghanaians around that area, we must have a well coordination to ensure that every Ghanaian comes back to Ghana safe. As for the interest we are today, if the, Western powers and the American superpower are adhering to the principles and tenets that they all believe in to ensure law and order, we cannot be talking Russia alone without questioning. Already we've told them that we are going to give them support, and the people are kind of stranded. Russia is giving and threatening that its nuclear, ammunitions be ready for use, because the Western world is beginning to hazard that Ukraine was part of the USSR. The determination of Putin to, re-establish a kingdom within the Eastern European, area is known to all from generation, and that is what he's working towards. Ukraine is not the first control. So for me, it is an issue that the Ghanaian authority must. We are members of NATO, no two ways about that. Yeah. And for that matter, whatever NATO does, we are committed to it. But that doesn't also mean that Putin himself, I think the first attempt at meeting could not come on because of certain restrictions that the Russian president has continued to put. His meeting, for instance, with the French leader, where he stated that if the French leader wants to shake him in that meet and stuff like that, everybody knows the position of Russia. Everybody has the what do you call it? If it is propaganda, if it is true about the Russian intelligence and how they've used every means to win wars. So that is why the Ukrainian leadership are also very and ensure many people will not die. Russia has not closed that as well. In all this, there is one thing we need to take very serious. That is the commitment of the Ukrainian people themselves to defend themselves and their country. That's for me, makes and then when they win his country, they take him back. He descended the what do you call it, the offer, and said, look, I would stay, live, and fight for my land and my people. It's my country. So why should I go sit somewhere, look my people being, what do you call it, invaded? It's something you must do, even if it will take your life, to ensure that the future generation would have something to count on, just like people have done for us.
Yes.
All the people we are seeing behind us left their luxury, left everything to fight for the independence of the continent. Yeah, will do what Cameroon will do, what South Africa will do, up until now. When we can easily capture these opportunities, bring some form of unity. You can do it in the form of, security. You understand? We have some unity in our security. We can look at in the area of business. What do you call them? Lithuania or any other country. We will be sitting here talking the same if we don't change the way we begin to approach things in this world today. We need, by any means necessary, to look at how we can unify some form, even if it's in business, even if in the area of security, in the area of governance. Do you know that if we go, we don't even talk about our 40 million population. We are talking the West African market. We are talking the African market. That is the numbers you give to them to convince them. So why do we continue to look on and do things individually when we know when we get to the international market, we want to portray ourselves as Africa? At the end of the day, collectively, we can achieve the objective for which we have set for ourselves and meet the hopes and aspirations of the younger generation yet to come, and ensure that we push forward the agenda of making Africa the pivot around which the world should revolve.
FADO shouldn't interfere in their impasse. He should be concerned on how to evacuate Ghanaians living in Ukraine and stop the unnecessary commentary. Ghana is currently under its knees economically, so any external aggression will collapse this country. And Komensa from Pillar 2 says, Russian, Ukraine, we need peace. So the war between Ukraine and Russia, it will definitely spread fast like coronavirus. And Abenavi Anani says, MPP is going to use Russia invasion as the cause of their failure. Right, so these are some of your Facebook messages. Let's get into our next topic for the discussion for our discussion. Right Honorable Bagbin was chairing it, and of course, in his absence, the first deputy overturned that particular decision. Last week, Speaker of Parliament was in Parliament again, and he spoke passionately about the fact that he feels First Deputy Speaker has also responded. He's saying that there was nothing illegal about him overturning the Speaker's decision. So that has been it. And what is all these about? Of course, the private members' motion was to investigate COVID-19 expenditure. Ever since COVID-19 hit our country, we've seen the World Bank give us some money. So yes, some members of Parliament want an investigation into how that particular money was spent. But the First Deputy Speaker is saying that that job is for the Auditor General and, of course, the Public Accounts Committee. I'd ask my gent.
The way things are going on in Parliament, I say it's funny because an 8-year-old boy, my nephew, I was at the mountains over the weekend, and so that I'll go to Parliament. Then he said, are you also going to fight the way we've been seeing them fighting on television? And I said, wow, 8-year-old boy. He has been seeing what is happening in Parliament on television. So that should tell you what the kids, they are going to learn and comment on it. So first of all, I will plead with our honorable members to stop that blow fighting going on in the House. Secondly, you see, they are there to make laws for us. Is that not what they are supposed to be doing? And so when they fight, what law are we going to use against them? When they fight in Parliament, what laws are we going to use against them? For me, I condemn all those needless fights and what's been going on in Parliament. What I expect them to do is to sit down, mediate, and come out with solutions that can be able to help the ordinary citizen out there on the street or out there who stood in the sun to vote for them. I asked a simple question. They have rules in Parliament, bless, don't they? Per their standing orders, if you are sitting in the chair as a speaker and you need to make a decision, don't you, go conclude by voting? Or in this scenario, when the second deputy speaker decided that the bill,
of his duties, because according to them, he oversaw.
So in both scenarios, it has to do with COVID.
Yes.
Because had it not been COVID, the health minister will not go out there and sell vaccine, which is supposed to cost about $9 to us for $19. Is that not it? And so if members of Parliament given to you, you make, what do you call it? You account for them. Is that not it? Because when this COVID came, we have seen huge sums of money being given to this nation, all in the name of COVID. Who manage, those who represent us are claiming that, look, let's do our own internal, or if not even internal, let's just come out with an audit so that Ghanaians out there will get to know that, look, upon we receiving such an amount, we were able to make good use of that amount. Plus, bear it in mind that, look, where we are as a nation now, to an extent that if the president and his convoy will have to move to Kumasi, if care is not taken, they have to go and borrow fuel to be able to travel. We are on the verge of, to account for all the monies that you have been collecting over the years. And COVID funds is one of them, because they themselves have given you an amount. And so if your own countrymen are saying that, look, before we move and go and embarrass ourselves outside, let us do the needful. In the speaker talking on various platforms, that what the words that the speaker used was not it's unparliamentary and what have you.
In fact, he actually described the speaker as an epitome of intolerance. That is what in his
you see, in the House, we have 20 from both sides, 20 female MPs on the side of NDC, 20 on the side of MPP, and then 117 men on both sides, with only one person standing alone as an independent. And so he has to know that he is claiming that we are the shining star of Africa. We always lead things in Africa. And so this is the kind of democracy we want to lead. If this is the kind of democracy that we want to preach out there, then I'm sorry, it is bad. Because your boss will take a decision, and then you can't, try to explain to Ghanaians. It's neither here nor there. He should just accept the fact that he didn't do well. So if now Speaker himself, Right Honorable Abang-Bagbin, is in the chair, and they allow anybody to talk about this motion, is it going to be fair to him? It is not. And you see, when the top people fight, it's those at the down who will suffer. As we speak, let's be truthful to ourselves. Since they've really been able to pass, for Ghanaians to know that really they are working. Sometimes you look at the chamber and it's not even up to half. Today, if it is not Adwa Safu's issue, tomorrow it is something else. Is it a deliberate attempt to, trend? In fact, somebody sent him money from outside, $1,000, through a bank. When he went to cash, they deducted 1.75 and yes, as E-levy. And as members of parliament, parliamentarians.
Just mention the bank's name.
You understand? So these mobile money vendors, all because of this brouhaha. They don't know whether it is coming or not. And instead of you to sit down and let Ghanaians know that, look, we have not instructed any bank. Come out with communique. Let Ghanaians out there know what is happening. You are there trying to charter aircraft and be bathing in the air. When we asked, they said, oh, these are national security issues. And of course, we all know you can't go and ask issues with the budget of national security. So any monies that are going to be spent, they will put it in national security. Do they mean to tell us that COVID funds are also part? How many bills have they been able to pass since they came back from, since they came this year? It has been E-levy, left, right, E-levy, every day E-levy, E-levy. Just table it. If we are not able to pass, we move forward to another.
I've said time without number that the current situation we're witnessing, especially with regards to our parliament, is not the best. I've listened to people try to apportion blames and to sort of create the impression that the actions stand, that it is a mass, it's a sham that they would account for their stewardship.
An obligation.
You understand? And for that matter, to ensure that democracy takes its rightful place, I mean, why find out how they've used your money? And where there is a need to punish someone for wrongdoing, you do. That is all it is about democracy, that the world over, everybody says democratic governance is the best. Now, in this democracy itself, I would say it without fear or favor. that if we eliminate, or, I mean, yeah, you would come to the realization and conclusion that the only institution that is not part of those systems of government that's not acceptable to all and not in tandem with world standard is the fact that they don't have parliament. Because if you take the military regimes, they have executive. They have some form of media in their religiously, because it is the only institution that makes the difference. If this is the case, let's begin to ask ourselves, what is happening in this current parliament that is threatening our democracy, that we need to rise up collectively against and ensure that here, everybody should take it. There is nothing that has dented the parliament of the fourth Republican constitutional government of Ghana than when a member of parliament was caught with drugs outside of Ghana, a diplomat, and because of the trust that the world all over has put in parliament and the integrity that they expect to see from members of parliament. We have seen an MPP member of parliament carry drugs and arrested, sentenced in the name of Ghana. Nobody found that as a dent. But when I rise up in tandem with the constitution, take action, people want to create the impression that they are rather denting the image of parliament. The image of parliament was dented by the action of Mr. Amwatin, an MPP member of parliament, when he took drugs to the United States and was arrested as a diplomat from Ghana. Now, what do you call the government of Ghana declared only 1 million. Do we sit and say nothing has happened and that we will not need investigation? The Minister of Health himself, when he was called to Parliament to answer questions as to the COVID tests being undertaken at the airport, he said he has no knowledge. Representative should not inquire and put this government to the spotlight so that the right thing is that you think that should not be done. You see, I have a lot of respect for Mr. Osewusu. Why? Because I've had the opportunity of working under him before. And the transformations he brought to DVLA, tremendous. I mean, it's there for everybody to witness. I hold him high esteem. But his association with the NPP as a political party is beginning to dent his image, and dent his image big time. I want to use this opportunity to tell Mr. Osewusu and his family members to advise him, everybody, his church members, to advise him that when he doesn't take time and this fourth Republican Parliament crashes on his head as a result of his negligence, gross, attempt to sabotage the progress of Parliament, he will have himself to blame. He will go down in history of all the things he has done to serve this country. He is also the person making sure, he and the majority leader, are making sure that they denigrate Parliament to an extent that people will not even buy Parliament, just to satisfy the whims and caprices of an individual who is the President of the Republic of Ghana. All these things we should not continue to look on while such things continue to happen. You see, I consider all this they are doing as an assault to democracy. I say it because if Parliament is so important and you need to ensure that everything needs to be done to guard Parliament and operations of Parliament, and you continue to sabotage Parliament, then you are assaulting democracy. Why it is so is because, you see, the current leadership of MPP in Parliament today have looked on. They've done a lot of damage in Parliament. For instance, this Adwa Safu issue we are talking about. Do you know that from convention, go back and take the position of various members of Parliament. Conventions in Parliament has been that when you go to the ECOWAS Parliament, you forfeit any opportunity to become a minister in Ghana. It has been so for long. If you remember how Yakubu Gede the late had to resign an appointment that Kufuor gave her to become a member of a minister, and say that I want to stay in ECOWAS Parliament, so I don't like your minister position, so keep it. It happens to somebody like Tenya. I remember under the Mills time when the Fonka Games was so ripe, he couldn't get any appointment. He was so proud to be a member of the ECOWAS Parliament. All these things are there to guide us as a people. But Adwoa Safo alone was a member of the ECOWAS Parliament with all the opportunities and privileges that comes with it. She was made a minister again under the MPP administration under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Members of the minority raised questions and said that, look, this action will not augur well for the progress of Parliament. They ignored it. They even added another position, a deputy, majority leader in the House to her. All together. You've made her a darling girl and broken her virginity. Now you said she shouldn't go out and marry. How can this be done? You broke her virginity. Don't forget that even in this particular Adwoa Safo's case, the president is on record to have written in support of her stay outside. Now, if she's not coming, you turn around and be telling people how many days she's been absent in Parliament and $120,000 and chartered jets and cities needs to be given to her to come and a whole lot of things. We don't really care about that. The fact that, as we speak today, the MPP government is telling us they bought PPPs during the 2-3 weeks intensive COVID-19 activity with over 2 million Ghana cedis. They bought rice and oil and wamu. They rice on oil they cook. Did you get some? Did I get some too? Did you see the rice? They are telling us they use 5 million. I mean, it should tell us that something is fundamentally wrong. As we speak today, anybody who has any transaction with regarding COVID-19 must be made to account to the latter, because it is clear if even the World Bank is raising red alert on how Ghana uses its COVID-19 funds, then it means we need to be, we need to be worried as to what is going on with our money in this country. For that matter, I support today the need for a proper account of our COVID-19 funds and all the monies we've received. Let us not forget corporate Ghana itself contributed immensely, where the former Chief Justice was heading that activities. Have we seen any accountability from them? How much have they received so far? What have they used it for? I know the so live up to the expectation, demand that she's given an opportunity to account for a stewardship. This is monies that belong to the good people of Ghana who are underserved today. This is money that could build and improve the living standard of the ordinary Ghanaian. The woman who, as I speak to, waiting to get a corn to roast just to survive for the day, while some people are here in Accra, leaving and going to enjoy a lunch of 5 million this afternoon. We are all Ghanaians. The good people of Central Region who have demanded nothing but fulfillment of a promise made by the president. Before I finish, it is very important is because I heard Osei Chairmansa talk about intolerance to Agwang Bagwe. I think if Joe Wise to Right Honorable Speaker Agwang Bagwe. You see, Joe Wise doesn't understand what intolerance means. I want to believe so. He has not been released, and nobody is saying something about it just for national security to say that a court has, ordered him to be detained. If court wants to detain you, do they detain you in the prison, police station, or BNI cells? That is a question I want to ask. I want to ask if the action or the charges put on Sakut Amaga of, the judges or any other party in the matter into danger may. But I want to ask, what about those who actually carried out the attack in Kumasi in the sitting court, where a judge was pursued, a pregnant judge, pregnant woman, going to report himself every morning and not announcing to the good people and carrying out his job? Why should Benson Thompson be getting up every morning and going to report? Why should the national chairman of the NDC be getting up every morning and going to report himself to in court? Why is it so? If there is something and we call...
Thank you very much. Before I come to Awudu Ishak, let me do a few Facebook messages. Sule Superior says, I want to ask, did Russia ever colonize any African country? Do they fight for our resources? Who gave NATO the right to destroy Libya? Africans, let's wise up about this. this is the time to be. This is not the. This is the time to be a government. £1 equals to 9 cedi 67 pesos, and okay. Frank Jones says, has the special prosecutor's ears heard that he is a special prosecutor trying to say that he did not hear the controversial Adjoa Safo want to Suleiman Abdul Rahim says it is now difficult to explain to school children the difference between the headmaster and the assistant headmaster. The assistant headmaster can nullify the decision of the headmaster. And this one here says, for me, I am disappointed in the NDC MPs. They are not hard enough on the MPP government and by law from Atlantic Bank. And Positive Change says, we are indeed living in a funny Ghana with just full economic measure. They were not ready to account for over 460 billion, and we are okay with that. So we equally don't have the moral authorities. Over 100 people watching. Please share. Okay, all right, thank you very much. I'm glad. I'm also glad you are sharing. Okay. Conscious says, good morning, Mr. Host. I'm watching you live from Abekanla Pass. In fact, your big men in the studios are making a Speaker of Parliament and his deputy.
Well, Bless, I think I almost committed sacrilege, because, or whether we are all complicit. Do you know that today is the birthday of Comrade Bernard Mona?
Oh.
And lest I forget, I want to send him my personal. So, Chairman, wherever you are, I say very happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you, Chairman.
I was just chatting with him, so he's watching.
He's watching actually, and he was actually involved in a near fatal accident. Justice for Ghana.
The last one standing.
Justice for Ghana.
The last one standing for it. He still remains the only person who has not been corrupted by this corrupt system. I salute him for that.
So, Bless, I hope I can be very charitable with the Alban Bagbin, Speaker of Parliament, has been very charitable to him in his response. Because from where I sit and from what we have seen so far go on in Parliament, I am more than convinced that, and the minority caucuses in Parliament, because this is the man who, in whatever action he wants to take, it is propaganda driven and partisan laden. Remember that this is just the second time that he has overturned of his subordinate, but goes on to allow that particular unsatisfactory decision to stay. Now, if we have been talking about building bridges in Parliament and building consensus, this is not the kind of conduct that anyone desirous of helping in that would have been a very chaotic scene in Parliament. Let us also not forget that it was the misjudgment, whether deliberately or whatever, by Honorable Joe Osei-Wusu to abandon the chair and attempt to cast a vote. Bless, if I were given an opportunity to award anybody for standing up to the defense of our parliamentary democracy, I would send that particular award straight away to the minority caucus in Parliament, because they could not have done anything under the circumstance than what they did. In their standing orders is very clear. Even the Constitution itself is very clear on what a deputy speaker can do and cannot do once he's sitting in that particular chair of speaker. You understand? And I see we have not seen enough of that. For the second time, he has come to resent how government has managed or mismanaged COVID funds since the onset of the unfortunate COVID-19. Now, you don't need a soothsayer or anyone from the high skies to come and tell you that of government and its officials on the advent of COVID-19. I rather think that these are a group of people who have benefited so much from COVID-19 because of how they have misused, because of how they have misapplied, and because of how they have misappropriated all the funds that have accrued into the government kitty of a private entity that has been given responsibility to charge people fees for COVID-19 tests at a strategic installation like the airport. And he knows nothing about that particular entity. Frontier Services. The services came into being and how they got that particular contract. You have a minister that goes to sign a procurement contract for the supply of vaccines. The cost of the vaccines are inflated, and then at the end of the day, we do not even get the vaccines, and we pay a huge sum of money.
We are stressing him.
It says we are stressing him, forgetting that apart from the other doses, we paid for some 20,000 doses. You understand? Those 20,000 doses, what have we done with it? It amounts to a financial loss. Receive X amount and come and declare Y amount. What could be the motive? Why the shady engagements by government? Blessed. In during that the height of the pandemic, you are aware that in those monies were supposed to be loans. They were not freebies. Let's go back to the NBSSI. Let them come and account for that particular money, whether they will be able to do that. But these monies turned into campaign funds, given to parliamentary candidates, given to parliament that we have today. And we all know that Parliament's basic responsibility is to exercise a certain oversight over the executive. Unfortunately, we have never had that opportunity of having a Parliament with the kind of structure that we have today, a Parliament that can stand on its own, the candidate who himself was ousted from the party before the elections. You understand? Because he was virtually hounded out of the party during the parliamentary primaries. He felt hard done. He decided to go independent, and even when the president, who thinks that he must live the talk, because Ghanaians voted for this parliament for a purpose. And I am happy that the NPP is failing to know who Right Honorable Alban Bagbin is. The man is no pushover. That man is no pushover that wants to build consensus. So what do you want the man to do? And the man continuously tells you that he is there in that particular chair to give direction. So if you cannot engage the minority for you to build a consensus before you come to the floor of the house or whatever, how can that be the problem of Alban Bagbin? And that is what called for the minority chief whip, saying that henceforth, before they have any engagement with the majority leader and the leadership of the majority side in parliament, probably they should hold it in camera. Because they say A and they come out and they give a misrepresentation. The monster E-levy. They say without E-levy we will not be able to do anything. And Ghanaians are telling you that, look, we do not have confidence in you in terms of accountability. But you have received so much in the last 5 to 6 years. You have not been able to account to the good people of Ghana. Come and account. Your ability to account for what you have spent so far would engender confidence in the people to even want to pay the E-levy or give you more resources to run the state. But if you are averse to accountability and you are running away from accounting to the people, why would the people give you more? So I am surprised the E-levy would continue to suffer because we will not support it. We have given you so much, and you have given back so little. Come and prove to us why we think of you in that. If you think that our perception that you have misapplied, misappropriated the funds you have received so far is wrong, only reviews, recommendations and findings from the Auditor General. But when the Auditor General's report comes, the Public Accounts Committee strictly speaks to what is contained in the Auditor General's report. It is possible that a committee of parliament may be able to find out things that the Auditor General may not be able to find, right? And the perception about corruption in this government is heightening day by day. And they could continue. But I keep saying that it does not matter how long it takes. Government will certainly change. And the right things will be done.
Thank you.
Let me
Sure.
to throw more light on the point he raised, where he quoted a standing order to support that position. That is flawed because there is also the Constitutional and Standing Order Committee of Parliament. Do you understand? Which work on review of Constitution and even the standing orders of the House. But I would tell us who, do you understand? That is what flawed his ruling. Because he has flouted the position, the weak straw he stood on to give that whimsical and capricious, ruling, has been weakened further by the fact that he himself, knowing very well and understanding this rule, his own, position that he stood on to dismiss the motion for a proper and full detail. What I have been made to understand is that the Member of Parliament, those who propose that private members bill, can go back again, when it ends up coming to us again as an attack. They use it to swipe our face, and when you do something, they have the power and crunch you. I mean, this even in the animal kingdom is not done.
It's not done.
What is happening in this country today, even in the animal kingdom, is not done. Because I say it's not done because when you go into the kingdom of wolves, they can put you to BNI cell for 1 week and say they will release you on 14th March, and a whole lot of things. So it's okay. It's okay. Let's not even talk and get ourselves. Yeah, yeah.
It's annoying. It's annoying.
Account for it.
And you see, Ghanaians are so skeptical about even paying this particular e-levy because of this same very thing, about accountability. So this,
there's one thing we need to understand as a nation. Do you know that include a coordinating council for them? You need to get a regional minister. You need to employ people who
and all these people are paid.
Yes, and all those people are paid. And just after creating those districts, we entered into COVID set in. And then when COVID set in, we didn't stop there. We went, they blocking us from doing that. The thing is that they don't have anything to tell Ghanaians. The only thing they have to do is to do this Buga and Takashi issue. That's why they are doing that. Because if reality they have what it takes to account to Ghanaians, I can tell you for a fact that half of them will go to jail.
For you.
Yeah. Connection
they can even detach someone's visa and put it in someone else's passport. Those there were no biometrics and stuff like that. They were doing all that, and that is exactly how this government is running the country. That, I'm telling you,
robbing Peter to kill
people. Right. If
and that we cannot access any money. I mean, we defaulted one too many on the existing ones. Do you know that our bonds, when it's flying in the money market, is attracting higher interest? Do you know that? Why? Because everybody is seeing how risky our economy is. We started from day one, like I indicated, connection. Today, it is hitting us on the face. Everywhere you go, our credibility is going down. What the rating agencies are telling us today is what John Dramani Mahama has said since 4 years ago, that these people are not managing the economy well. They are spending out of gateways. Bamia, who was asking 175 questions or what questions, have been asked one question today. Does he support E-levy or not? He has not answered up to today. One question. Do you support E-levy or not? You've not answered. And you were asking 170 questions to some other people. I know. And that is why I'm saying we've asked only one question. And that question is not even an economist who is asking. It's just a roadside historian. You call him incompetent. Do you support E-levy? You've not answered up to today. We don't even know your fate on the matter of E-levy. And for that matter, the economic situation is getting worse by the day. This government has not shown any clue as to how it can continue to manage this economy. I speak to you, if people like Agban Gbagbe, Right Honorable Speaker, begin to tell you, Agban Gbagbe has been around government for the past 40 years. That is what he has been doing. Governance. For his past 40 years, all that he has been doing is around governance. If he looks to you straight and tell you that, hey, MPP government, come and let's find solution to the problem. Because if we don't take time in the next 3 months, we cannot even pay workers.
Salaries.
And you take it for a joke. The teachers are there. Continue taking it for a joke. When at the end of the month your money doesn't come, then you realize the magnitude of the problem at stake. When you are a nurse, and at the end of the month, I mean, they have started feeling the pinch already. Then the NAPCO, beneficiaries have been asked to go home, and many other things. They are not even telling us when the next group of 2 million NAPCO trainees will be inducted into the section again. You remember the pomp and pageantry, the fanfare that welcomed the first group of NAPCO trainees. Where are they now? They are on demonstration, saying that the government has deceived them. This government cannot continue to deceive people and expect that people will sit with their hands between their legs. No, you don't expect it. It doesn't happen. Go and read any human development story. The people will certainly react one day. The people will begin to ask questions when they cannot take it any longer. Our economic situation requires that we sit immediately to begin to find solution, like John Dramani Mahama did around 2014, 2015. Find solution. They came up with their homegrown solution, out of which we've been able to sustain and survive this economy and indeed expanded the economy. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Bawumia remained the most luckiest president in the history of Ghana since 1957. Even Kwame Nkrumah did not get the benefits that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo got as president. You are coming in when they've set system rolling for you. You have about 3 wells. Kufuor left only 1 for the Ms. Mahama administration. They added 2. They added 10 field. They added what do you call it? Sankofa field for you. You are taking all the money. Ms. Mahama administration went to the Eurobond market, borrowed to build the Etoabo gas project. Today we are not flaring a single gas. We are getting benefit from all that. A Etoabo gas project has paid for itself and is paying and is giving Ghana profit. The loan. Just like many other loans that we took. And I'm asking the NPP government, John Dramani Mahama in the thick of the problem in 2015. Do you know NPP is yet to even buy oil in the world market at $100? It's still over around 99 something. John Mahama bought beyond $100. Ran this country with it. He didn't have these things you are having today. He didn't have all the largesse, all the benefits you are getting today. He ran this country. He was buying fuel at that price. You called him incompetent. And today you are telling us to look at international prices and say that you are not the cause of the problem. How can we take you serious? Are you serious? When John Dramani Mahama had the problem, was it his fault? Was it his making that they sat in the room and created problem and oil prices had to go up? Why did you call him incompetent and said that he doesn't know how to do it? You know how to do it better. You were called Nyanseni, you were called the economic messiah, only to come to the realization that the M that stands for messiah can also stand for Mumu. It can also stand for Mumu. Our country is in serious problem. I'm telling you, let us begin to see how the government will decide to call the good people of Ghana together. Let's begin to build our economy again. There is no hope in this government. We have to begin to see the examples of John Dramani Mahama, the homegrown solutions. These are the steps, these are the directions we want to go. And nobody should take it from MPP that going to IMF is a crime. If there is a government that needs to go to IMF, it is the MPP administration. You know why? Because they will ensure fiscal discipline. The IMF will ensure fiscal discipline. That money that has been moving around neck under women's buttocks and whatever have you would stop immediately if IMF comes into the issue, because you account for everything you take.
Right. Thank you very much. Let me come to Comrade into.
Money that will do goes into what?
Oh, everything. I mean, has been rolling. The money has been rolling.
The problem is they are scared of going to IMF because they will be asked to come and do proper accounts. And the way they are spending the money, there's no way any responsible institution will just hand over money to them without doing any due diligence. And for them to avoid going to IMF, then let's come and tax our people. Let's come and just take from their wallet, because we realize that people now put money in their wallet. People keep monies in our wallet. And so what is in your wallet? Let's tax it. But you see, it is funny, Bless. How can I, if I have two wallets, two numbers, I want to transfer money from my MTN to my Vodafone. You tax me from MTN to the Vodafone. From Vodafone to another network, you tax me. I mean, just one amount. You keep taxing till the money will just get finished. I mean, so how did they sit down to arrive at this particular policy? I mean, I don't get it. Because if you really care about your citizens, and if your citizens' life matters to you, I don't think you will come out with such a policy. I've been saying that, look, if you are a leader and you come out with a policy that will rather bring hardship onto your members, then you don't have any business being at where you are, because you are not a responsible leader. You are just somebody who believes in just occupying position to be called power drunk. I don't see the reason why we should even be arguing over this E-levy stuff. And now all of a sudden, E-levy has become like a drug that is being sold in the Tata buses, like an Akobam, like these local drugs. Everybody, solve every problem. If your stomach is paining you, just take this E-levy. If your head is paining you, take E-levy. I don't get it. And you see all the ministers. Our Greek ministry is saying if you are not able to pay E-levy, we can't get fertilizer. Road minister is saying that if we don't pay E-levy, road contractors will not be paid. Meanwhile, you ask a simple question. Defense minister. And you ask a simple question. How much is that E-levy? Just 6.9 billion Ghana cedis, right? At the end of the day, let's find out how much the presidency spends. Presidency is spending 3.1 billion. So that is.
You see, don't ever underrate this MPP government. They are not targeting 7 million. Why I say so is because, Eric, if you give me 1 minute, why I say so because it is not by mistake. That's more. Why I say so is give what do you call it? The connection between Ghana card to acquire telephone number. And to be able to register a bank, have a bank account, and to able to have a telephone number before you can do business transaction, should tell you that this MPP government have a bigger agenda. So that if you think you will stop doing Momo, you go to the hospital after E-levy has been passed. All the bills you pay in the hospital will be through Momo. They say they will not take cash. What would you do?
You
go to DVLA, it is the same. This government has a great agenda.
That's the concern some people have raised.
Let's go. What do you call it? Road toll. For nothing. They know what they are aiming at.
But you see,
this
is where we need to be smart. And this is where we need to be smart and up and doing. The youth need to rise up and say no to this E-levy. You see, like he said, they are just out there throwing dust into the eyes of the ordinary Ghanaian. They have just said, 6.9 million as they claim. Because every right-thinking person will ask this same question that I'm asking. That if your budget for only the presidency is 3.1 billion and you claim you are going to, you are bringing E-levy and at the end of the day you are going to receive 9.6 billion, then you come back and tell me this same E-levy is going to make sure that road tolls or road contractors are going to be paid, your housing and I mean all the loans. So what is there? We need to know what is really in there. They are not telling us what is really in the E-levy. What that they are doing is to do these town hall meetings, spend over 89,000 Ghana cedis, take journalists who will ask them simple questions, straightforward questions that will turn to their line and will not even involve other stakeholders who matters. Look at the number of people who ask questions at the town hall meeting. Is it not MPP communicators and MPP journalists? I'll put it MPP journalists because some of the questions they ask, it doesn't make sense to me. Ask them simple question. I have a wallet and you want to take money from my wallet. Is it not stealing? It is stealing. So if you want to steal me, should I still just stand there for you to steal me? That is not the way to go. Right. So for me, this E-levy that all of a sudden a whole deputy majority leader is also saying that if care is not taken, this Russia and Ukraine war, we need to rethink about E-levy. Other than that, it is going to. How can you say this? And when they ask you, you claim, oh, you didn't say that. Look at the lies. There are so much lies surrounding this E-levy stuff. And I think that we just have to throw the E-levy away, throw it somewhere, and then come back and think as a proper parliamentarian or come back with a proper policy that is going to help the ordinary citizen. Look at our mining sector. How much do they generate at the end of the year? Look at our agriculture industry. We have a lot of minerals. Look at the tax components on all the items that we buy outside. Yet you claim just 6.9 billion is the one going to solve or cure all your sickness. Right. Then I doubt where they actually attended school. Because it doesn't make sense to me that taking 6.9 and then at the end of the day you will spend 3.2, half of it, and you come back and tell me that the half that is left is what is going to use to pay for school fees, use to pay road. I mean, how?
Right, thank you very much. Let me wrap up with Comrade Audu Ishak. Yeah.
Well, bless. I keep saying that the citizens are not angry enough, because when I still go to Facebook or social media and I see people defending this recklessness of the NPP government in relation to the infamous decision to impose on us an E-levy, I feel so sad and scandalized. And I see that we are not just victims anymore. Most of us have become accomplices. Because what the government is seeking to do is targeting us, our citizens. And instead of us to stand united and rise up against it, they are all over the place defending it. And the most bizarre aspect of it is that those you see shouting loudest and writing the best of English on social media, in private they tell you that, Massa, this E-levy is not good. But because we have a system where almost every party communicator is put on autopilot, they think that they should go about defending it. Indeed, some of them are going to be hardest hit more than us. And we are out there defending it. Instead of them to be supporting us, they are out there chastising us, calling us all kinds of names. But I keep saying that we would continue to fight to ensure that E-levy does not come to pass, because it is unjustified. I say that it's what people call the low-hanging fruit. There are so many other opportunities out there for government to rake in revenue in excess of 6.9 billion Ghana cedis. Besides that, there are so many other baseless, or excuse my language, unwarranted expenses that government is engaged in. If government were to cut down on some of those, we would be able to make enough savings. Now, if you have a policy that says that you are going to cut down budgetary allocation to every other MDA by 20%, and you rather go and increase budgetary allocation to the presidency by close to 70 or so percent, you must be an epitome of the example that you want people to see. So the budgetary allocation to the presidency should have been the first thing that should have been cut down. But every other ministry, department or agency has had its budget cut down by 20% across board. That of the presidency has been increased. And we have a president who says that the country is broke. We must pay e-levy. It's a bullet that we must bite. But that president is still frolicking in the air in a private jet. That a 10-day trip of Europe and so many other places would cost us 49 million Ghana cedis in just 10 days. How can such a person have the temerity and the impetus to come and tell us that this country is broke and we must brace ourselves for tougher times? I'm not sure that the president is walking the talk. The president must set a good example. We are not just against e-levy. If the government had been able to prove to us that giving so much, they can do so much, we would give them the e-levy. But if we have earmarked and statutory funds being misapplied, we have a road fund levy. Money accrues into that particular levy. The road fund levy has a specific responsibility to fix our roads. You pick that money and it finds its way into other government expenses. We have a district assembly's common fund. There's a formula for distributing that particular money. The money accrues, government spends the money, the assemblies do not have anything. You understand? And so if these earmarked funds are not being used for the purposes for which they were created, what is the assurance that this particular e-levy that appears to be the panacea to all of our problems today will be used for the purposes that the government is telling us? I don't support e-levy, and we will continue to fight against it.
Right. Thank you very much. On that note, let me do some of your messages. This one's Habib Abdullah says, good morning, Pan-Africa and all panelists. I've always said that Ghana and Africa, our biggest problem is corruption and accountability. And unless we address this issue of finding ways to stop our greedy politicians from corruption, then Ghana will continue to suffer over and over again. It is only a wicked leader that will shy away from accountability. Okay, thank you very much. And how do you Ishak, the moment you start to speak, your demeanor and words used is what amazes me. Yeah, more than the word excellent. Okay, so that's somebody commending you. Adelaide Barnes says, good morning, Mr. Host. Did the works... Okay, this one is not so clear. Right. And Prince Tanko Kala Hamza says she's watching live from Gambaga. Thank you very much. And Suleiman Abdurrahim says, from Tamale, if you don't have strong heart, you cannot live in this country. See how fares and prices are skyrocketing. The least said about this characters, the better. Conscious Agbemenu Ahosu says, it is true, there is no hope in this government. They have totally failed. Even if Jesus comes right now, it won't work. Okay, Jojo JP Gabra says, e-levy actually means evil levy. And Roxin Doe says, MPP should know that leaders inspire accountability through the ability to accept responsibility before they place blame. We are tired of their excuses. No accountability, no e-levy. Obapa Mary says, happy birthday to Bernard Mona. And this one here says, the NPP is indeed useless government and has nothing for this country. No e-levy. Let's throw it away and move. We are the men. We have the men they claim they have. Right, okay. Not so clear at the end. Billy Bala says, I hope the e-levy will stop Putin from attacking Ukraine. Well, I think that one was on a funny note. So there you have it. And that's how we draw curtains on another interesting edition, a Monday edition.
To get the people of Cape Coast.
Right.
He's a good friend of mine.
He's a good friend of yours, right? So there,
he's a brother, in fact.
Oh, right. Jojo, I believe you heard Comrade Mohammed Nazio. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Ejam too, thank you so much. And thank you so much, Comrade Audu Ishak and Alaji Mohammed Nazio, who is the NBC Communications Team member for Bizongo Caucus. Thank you so much to at home for your time. It's always a pleasure sitting face to face with you and then talking about issues of national interest. See you same time tomorrow. My name is Bless Alomaso. Bye-bye.
Every day he looks after his brother and chases a bus. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, and learns new things. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, and gets back home. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, gets back home and helps his mom.